It's time for the Phil Ferguson Show, only on Secular Media Network.
Hello, everybody. This is Phil Ferguson, and you are listening to The Phil Ferguson Show. This is show number 171, and I just got back from the Reason Rally. And by just, I mean 2 hours ago, I got off the plane, at least as the time I'm recording this segment. The show may end up being a day or two delayed while I try to look for a speaker because I've been too busy to line anybody up, but hopefully we'll have somebody. If not, we'll just have a fun, short show. But this part, I wanted to talk about the Reason Rally itself. The first thing I must address is going to be the elephant in the room, and that is, yes, the Reason Rally this year was considerably smaller. What the actual number is, I have no idea. I do know it was a lot smaller. It also have looked even smaller than it was because of the giant reflecting pool that separated the crowd into two halves. And also a lot of people were hiding in shade, so there were many more people back in the trees. And on one site, there was also a supplemental screen up on a field, and so people weren't even in the line of sight from the stage. They were simply watching this giant screen because they could be in the shade looking over there. So as far as numbers, like I said, I would guess 6,000 to 10,000. 4 years ago, I would have guessed 30,000. So I will say it's considerably smaller. Now, a lot of people right out of the chute, within hours, are saying, where are all the people? Where are all the people? Which is a reasonable question, I guess. But what is not reasonable is to come up with your pet theory for an answer based purely on the issues that you have. And you may have seen these where people are coming out and saying, it failed because of this or it failed because of that. Life is full of complicated stuff. Things rarely go wrong because of one thing. And so if you have not volunteered, if you are not involved in any of the organizations, and of course, for full disclosure, in case this is the very first time you're hearing the Phil Ferguson Show, I have been and am still on the board. I'm the treasurer for the Reason Rally, so I, of course, have a biased opinion myself. But I hope I can at least acknowledge that, like some people cannot do. There is not one simple thing that results in the number of attendees being dramatically lower. However, even with that being a fact, that does not make the Reason Rally a failure. Get the fuck over yourselves. And if all you're going to do is sit in the sidelines and make your YouTube videos or your little blog posts, and you didn't lift a fucking finger to help, and some of these people don't lift that finger to help anywhere, any organization. They're basically nihilists or anarchists, and they want to throw stones from the safety of their own personal glass house and don't want anyone to say anything back. And I'm not going to mention names, Thunderfoot, but there's a lot of people out there who are blaming certain groups or certain organizations or certain people and certain perspectives for ruining this event. First of all, while the crowd was smaller, the event was not fucking ruined. So just chillax. We had trouble going into this because a certain person named Sarah Moorhead apparently got in over her head with her financial abilities and management abilities and was in charge of 3 organizations. There was money misappropriations. And 6 months ago, less than 6 months ago, Liz Liddell took over. The organization was in shambles, but some contracts and things were already set in place. So you've got to deal with the die that you've been cast. So an event of this scale that is held every 4 years or may be held again in 4 years, I don't know. The board will decide. I have no idea what they're going to want to do. It takes a long time to do. It should be a year to a year and a half, if not a 2-year full-blown project to organize something like this. It was done in 6 months. It was amazing. Wide variety of speakers. Could I see room for improvement? Well, hell yeah. There were 6 months, and there were a lot of people that worked their asses off, and I will make sure that I'm clear to note that I am not one of those people. There are dozens, if not hundreds of people that worked far harder than I did to put this event on. I was a benefactor of this event. I was able to go to parties, dinners. I DJ'd the Crystal City Dance because everything was set up and arranged for me to show up. So I enjoyed it. I got to meet literally hundreds of friends. Had a great time. Heard great speakers. Yes, we had a few that canceled last minute. People have complicated lives. And like my earlier comment, it's not all because of one thing. Johnny Depp got divorced, and apparently his mom died, and I wish him the best, and he needs to spend time on his family issues. I would do the same if I was him. Other people canceled. A couple of them were sick. One ended up deciding they had a philosophical disagreement that the rally was too atheistic, which is ironic because some of the people who are complaining that it's not atheistic enough. Sometimes you get in a position where you can never fucking please everybody. So if you didn't help, if you didn't lift a finger, and now you just want a Sunday morning quarterback, well, I guess Monday morning quarterback, sorry, not a sports guy. If you want a Monday morning quarterback, well, congratulations on your skills to bitch and moan about other people and what they didn't do when you didn't do shit. So if you want to help out, I can put you in touch with people so that if it happens again, I think it will, you can be involved. Now, that being said, this event was not a failure. If you think it was a failure, you have no idea what it was designed for or what the fuck you're talking about. As an example, we had 2 different national level politicians on the stage. Last time we did not have that. Huge win. We had hundreds upon hundreds of people on Thursday and Friday before the event go and talk to their legislators, go talk to their senators and their representatives, and talk about using science as a means, as a foundation for sexual education in the United States of America. It's sad as hell that that's something we even have to think about doing, but we were able to talk to hundreds and hundreds of representatives from all around the country. Now, some of them would just stare blankly at you and while you gave your spiel, but they're getting a position, they're getting to hear a voice that they don't normally get to hear, and they heard a lot of them all at the same time. It has an impact. There are and there will be people that went to this Reason Rally, and it is going to change their lives. There are going to be people that experienced this Reason Rally and said, I am not alone, and they can go back home and feel better about their lives, more secure and safe about themselves as a person and their relationship into the world. And there are going to be some people that will get more active and do things on the local or regional, even national level. You never know how that's going to turn out. So all of those things are successes. The other things that we have that we did not have 4 years ago, we had a considerable, it's still not huge, mind you, a considerable media presence. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN, all covered the event before it even happened. Now, it would have been nice if it was months before, but they covered it. Last time we got nothing. So we got way more press, and we're going to get way more press afterwards. And some of it will be the talk about the numbers. But you can comment and you can input and educate the other readers of those stories that there was more than just the number of people that is important. We had that politicians, we had more media presence, and there was also a wonderful, well-organized team of photographers and videographers that were able to capture images and videos that will be shared and will be out in the media, and they will create an impression that we've yet to understand the impact of. And another thing that may have actually driven down the numbers of people in attendance is that you could live stream it. So you didn't have to go there. But there's things that can be improved, one of which is I'd like to have 2 full years to plan an event like this, not 6 fucking months. So we started behind the curve. We made incredible progress, and quite frankly, if I can quote my friend Stephanie Zahn, and she put it in her blog post this way, this was a little secular miracle that this actually got pulled off at all. This is not a failure by any stretch, and I'm just going to leave it at that, let you think about it, let you argue about it all you want. You can send me your input and opinions if you're not a dick. That's Phil at Polaris Financial Planning. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of Ray Comfort's goons. A lot of you probably know that Ray Comfort had these grand plans to show up at the Reason Rally and walk around and handle out the words of wisdom from Ray Comfort. And, of course, Subway food coupons, because as Christians would say, we're not protesting you. We love you. Yeah, fuck you guys. They were told by the Park District Police that they could not come into the crowd because if they're protesting, they have to be in the designated protest area. The space on the mall was reserved, rented, and it is an event open to the public, but the organizing members of the event have the right to say who can and cannot be there. And Ray Comfort was told very clearly by the National Park Service that if you mingle in the crowd and you cause a disturbance, you cause a protest, and anyone asks for you to be removed, you will be removed. As a matter of fact, you can't even be a group there. So what Ray Comfort and his goons did is they decided that they would go around in pairs and hand out materials. And two of the guys were standing in the Reason Rally about halfway back on the right side if you're looking out from the stage. And I happened to come across them, and I went in and broke up their conversation with the atheists they were talking to, and I said, I introduced myself, and I introduced myself as a board member and told them that they had to keep moving. And they said that they were just walking through. And I said, great, keep walking. If you're walking through, keep walking and go over to 17th Street, and you'll be fine. And they said, well, they were just talking to people. And I said, I know what you're doing. That's why I'm asking you to keep walking. And basically it came down to they weren't going to move. And one of them asked me if I was going to make them move. And it's one of those things that they were trying to suck me in, draw me into a bigger conflict or an issue. And I went and talked to some of the people, again, I had mentioned before, are doing the actual work. And they set me up with a pair of gentlemen from the National Park Service SWAT team. And we walked down there, and actually, when we got there, we found that 2 police officers were just about to go talk to these guys. And so I now had the support of 2 police officers and 2 members of the National Park Service SWAT team to go talk to Ray Comfort's guys. And, of course, I stayed out of it at this point because that's what they're there for. And they explained to him that he needed to move. And, of course, his attitude totally changed. Instead of being argumentative as he was with me, he suddenly became apologetic and all like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought I was far enough back that I didn't realize I was in their space. And there's just the 2 of us, and we were walking through, and people stopped and asked us questions. And they were having a nice, gentle conversation back and forth with the police officers. And finally, one of the SWAT team guys jumped in and said, you need to move, and you need to move now. And Ray Comfort's guys realized it was now time to move with 4 law enforcement officials standing in front of them. And so they picked up their stuff and finally left the area. So that was a little bit of fun that I got to have. Another thing that's a really fun experience for me, and I'm adjusting to this. It's a new phenomenon for me. I had dozens and dozens of people stop me while I'm walking around to come up and say hello to me because they've heard the show or they've seen my video with Seth Andrews on the Thinking Atheist show. And I even had people that heard me talking and just recognized the voice, which you may notice is a little gruff because I just had way too much fun over the weekend. But for everyone that said hello, thank you so much. I am beyond words, I guess. I'm honored. I'm humbled. I'm just getting on this microphone and talking with some friends, for the interviews about atheism. And then we have the financial segment, which I'm going to talk about a little bit here. But coming up.